My mom and dad were married in 1959. I have an older sister, so it's my sister and I are the two siblings. She's 2 years older than me. My father worked at General Motors. He was an electrician, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. We had the typical suburban family of the 70s. My mom stayed home, cooked and cleaned. She didn't work. She took care of us. And quite honestly, in hindsight, I look back and I think that's really the only reason that she was able to function, because we really didn't have that good a relationship because everything was a trauma to her. She would find that she was very upset with things all the time. She did not have any symptoms of being schizophrenic or any diagnosis and such at that time, but looking back, she was very isolated, very insecure, very detached from anything happening in the outside world, and never satisfied. So when I look back at those times, I look back and I think, well, gosh, thank goodness she was able to cook, and my dad sort of prodded her along to become a functioning person. Had it not been for these obligations and responsibilities, I don't think she would have really been able to function. So she was constantly depressed. She probably didn't have schizophrenia at the time, but she probably had a form of depression. She was very dissatisfied and oftentimes cried for what I thought to be no reason. And oftentimes she drank. So we had quite a distant relationship because she was emotionally unavailable to me as a child because she was very much more preoccupied with herself. Looking back on that, I see how deprived I was from any type of emotional relationship with my mother. I didn't know at the time that this was unusual. Only when I began to be a mother myself did I realize that these were the things lacking in my own relationship with my mom. My name is Judy Bomarito, and I'm currently immersed in a photo documentary series titled The Space Between the Cracks. The story began years before I actually started photographing. In 2004, my mother had her first nervous breakdown, and my dad was her primary caregiver. And so my life continued. I had quite a distant relationship with my mother during this period of time, but because my father was her primary caregiver. And in 2006, my dad suffered a stroke. He was hospitalized for 3 months. And during that course of time, we had a lot of conversations. And prior to his death, he looked at me and said, "Take care of your mom." And I kind of laughed at him because we joked because I wasn't very close with my mom, and we sort of laughed, and he knew I would do it though. So in 2006, after my father passed away, I became my mother's sole caregiver. It took her 2 years of living independently in her condominium before I had to put her in assisted living. I don't feel a goose egg.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there? Okay. How did it happen?
I just fell.
Your legs gave out?
No, Dad did it.
How did Dad do it?
He's magical. He lives in heaven.
It's funny. Well, does he do good magical things or just bad magical things?
He does a lot of magical things.
What kind of things does he do?
Him more giving me a hard time.
He gives you a hard time?
Yeah. He does.
Do you see him or do you just know he's magical?
He just talks to me.
Oh, see, yeah. I'm so happy to see that you're writing. I haven't seen you write in a long time. You know that?
Yeah, but look how I write though.
Well, okay. And then who wrote this, Our Father, for you? Who wrote that for you?
A worker here.
Hmm?
A worker.
A worker here, you asked her to do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
She writes.
Did she know how to do it, or did you have to tell her that?
She took it from her
She took it to her boss?
no, she took it from her
Bible? Bible?
What's that thing, that little thing you have?
Oh, her phone? Her iPhone? Ah, okay. She researched it. She Google searched it. That's what they call that. Okay. Our Father who art in heaven. You want to say it? I saw that you were reading it when we walked in.
Yeah.
Can you read
Our
it?
Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom done, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
That was nice. See? Did you feel good that you prayed? I don't think you've prayed for a long time, huh?
Yeah.
Or have you been doing it since she gave you this paper?
Oh yeah, I've been doing it.
Good. That makes you, that always makes you feel better, doesn't it, when you do that?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to see that. My mom was the second youngest of 10 children. Her parents were from Ukraine. And from what I gather, around the age of 12, my mother was riding a tricycle, using it as a scooter, and riding along the sidewalk, and she hit a bump on the sidewalk, and she knocked her 2 front teeth out. And apparently my grandfather was quite a mean person, and he, rather than capping those 2 teeth, he had all her teeth pulled out and he had them replaced with dentures. So knowing that and understanding that when I read some of my mom's words, written words, and I see the connection and her constant torment with her teeth, it's really clarified to me the lack of self-confidence that it's impeded upon her life. I don't know if the fact that this course of event has any association with the fact that she's mentally ill or not. I don't know that for a fact, but if I were to think that it's changed or altered her life, I would have to assume so, because at that young of an age to have dentures, I think it's really caused her to, it's stunted her growth emotionally and confidently. So I think that has an association that I think is really important to really understand. And it caused me to think about the events that happen in the course of everyone's life. Is there a pivotal moment in everybody's life that could change their life's direction? What is it that causes one person to have a traumatic event happen and they rise above, yet another person simply falls between the cracks? And for me, I see this association, I see this connection with my mom, and I can't help but connect that event from happening in her life and how it has maybe changed the course of her life. You used to always have me buy the Polygrip. How come you don't use that anymore?
Because these teeth are bad.
No, they're not bad, Mom.
Well, I gotta get new teeth.
You're not getting new teeth. So here's what I think you should do. I think you should just try to eat and put maybe if you would like me to get the Polygrip for you. Remember, I used to always buy that stuff for you. Do you know what I'm talking about? Remember I used to do that?
No.
So how come you don't use that stuff anymore?
Because these teeth are bad.
Tell me what's bad about them.
They're loose.
They're loose because you don't put the glue on them.
He knows that I need new teeth.
Who?
Führer.
He doesn't know. When's the last time you spoke to him? Huh?
A couple days ago.
How did you talk to him?
He just gives me information.
How does he give you the
Tell me
information?
to have drink Ensure and
He what? He told you to drink Ensure?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then eat
Yogurt?
yogurt.
Mm-hmm. So that's all you've been eating?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you need to go back to eating regular food again.
No. He knows.
He doesn't No.
Judy,
Okay,
please.
how about I'm gonna go give him a call. Okay? I'll be right back, all right?
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go get his phone number and call him.
Go ahead.
Okay. She sort of had this glazed over look prior to her actual breakdown, and she was always talking about things that God was doing, and I had mentioned to her at certain times that it would probably be a good idea to go see a doctor, but she had this calm sense about her, as though what she was doing and what she was planning was perfect, and everything was just going to be wonderful. And it was quite scary, to be honest with you, because it was not a normal sense, not a normal feeling, but she seemed to feel almost like her senses were heightened, and everything was just perfect around her. So there's this very calming thing. This was prior to her actually having the breakdown. So when she actually had the breakdown, it's made a lot of sense. All the things that she was saying and doing, it sort of culminated on the night of the event that she had the psychotic breakdown. He told me you can eat regular food when I called him.
You talked to him already?
Yeah, he said you can have regular food. He said you should probably put that glue in your mouth to hold the teeth in better. He said that's what you're supposed to do.
What are you doing to me?
Huh? Hey, look at me. What's the matter?
Why did you call him? Why did you call him?
Because I wanted to know.
I need new teeth.
The intent of this series took an unexpected turn when I realized I was developing a new compassion and understanding for my mother. But I do think the substance of this body of work really lies with her desire and her experience to be loved and accepted. And I think that these are universal longings that we all share. And I think that understanding her journey and understanding the things that she's experienced and not experienced in life has made her life the way it is. As dire as it might seem, I think is a very hopeful story, because in its awareness, it makes us at maybe a younger and maybe different point in our life view what's happened to her, and to take that experience and transcend it into our own life, and find the similarities rather than the disassociation with somebody who might be in her circumstance. Find the similarities, and I think that's where the real power and strength lies, because we truly all want the same thing, and that is love and acceptance. So when I began finding these notes and letters, I find them everywhere. It became very intriguing to me. The whole story now picks up a different level and pace, because I'm finding struggles, I'm finding prayers, I'm finding ways that she's trying to reach out for help, but nobody knows these things except my discovery of these things. This one's one of my favorites. It says, "Inventing myself on my way to start a new life." That would be great. These are things that we all think about at one point or another in our everyday being. Yet, how many of us really think about them enough to write them down? I would find little notes like this one. It just says, "Bury me." How dreadfully sad is that? In 2010, my mom started to fall a lot, and I could tell she wasn't able to maintain herself. Her hygiene personal hygiene was starting to lax, and she just wasn't able to function on a level of capacity that was allowing her to live in the place where she was. So I knew I needed to now put her into a full-time care facility, which was a nursing home. And it was quite difficult to make this transition. This was 4 years ago, and I felt that it was necessary, so I was able to get her into a nice facility. And at this point, she had grown accustomed to me photographing her, so I was able to start using a bigger camera. And there's a big departure from the style and the way, the message and the feel, I think, of the first images, which were a much darker environment, juxtaposed with the verbal or the written words, creating diptychs from those. The new images were now a little more composed. I had a lot more control physically. I was able to bring the camera into being in front of her. I didn't have to hide it, and she accepted it, and it was sort of the new relationship that we had established. So now I could go there and say, come on, Mom, let's go photograph, and we sort of had this new relationship with the camera as the foundation, which was wonderful, because I think it was really important that I got to that point, because it was very healing for me, and it gave her, I think, a sense of importance in the world. She felt that she was doing something important for me. It was a different way of healing. It was a different way of moving along with the series, but I think it complements the beginning so well, because as time goes on, the series changes, and I think that's a significant part of the series. Which birds do you like?
Which one?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said, which birds do you like?
They're all nice.
Do you remember when you used to feed the birds all the time?
All the time.
What'd you do? You made popcorn for them?
I made popcorn.
What else did you do?
Bread.
Bread? And the squirrels, right?
And what?
The squirrels too? The squirrels and the birds?
Not the squirrels, just the birds.
Just the birds? Well, the squirrels ate it anyways, but
Yeah.
uninvited guests, right?
Uh-huh.
I threw a bunch of bread out today for the birds. I didn't cut it in little pieces like you did, though. I just gave them big old chunks. I thought if they were desperate, if they could lift it, they could take it back, right? Probably more for the squirrels than the birds, eh? But I hate to throw away the food now, when any kind of food when it's so cold like this. I throw my apples and oranges, if anything's like getting old, I just throw it out there, because I figure a rabbit or a deer or something's gonna eat it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with all this cold weather. Look at these little guys, aren't they cute?
Oh, isn't that cute? Take a picture of that. Wait till he kisses her. Wait till she kisses him.
That's where my really my interest lies, is trying to figure out and understand and be empathetic to people that may not have achieved the life that they dream about, the life that we all think of when we're at a young age. This series has gave me the realization and offered me the realization that when we're young, we have this sense of beauty and innocence and determination, and nothing's impossible. We have this perseverance that can get us through to the next day, and we think we're going to be happy when we get older, and we have the future ahead of us. What happens in one's life that changes that? And I don't know what the answer is with my mother, but I just feel that certain events have come up in her life that have changed that course for her, and unfortunately the result is not the successful and happy life that she hopes that she may one day have. And so the longing for love and the longing for acceptance has sort of taken her onto the path that she's on.
Good.
Would you like your feet a little more in?
Yeah.
How's that?
Very good.
Nap time?
Uh-huh. Just for a little while.
Okay. All right, it's 2:30, so in a little while you get up for dinner, okay?
Uh-huh.
All right, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Take care. I'll have Taylor come visit you over the weekend, okay?
Okay. Very good.
All right, he'll bring you some new clothes, all right? Since starting this series, it's really heightened my awareness to empathy for people of all walks of life. And that's really what I hope that people can pull from this series, is just the understanding that no matter what we're like, no matter what we have, we all really want the same thing, and that's simply love and acceptance.